You don't need me to tell you that Predator is one of the greatest action movies of the 1980s. In fact, forget that, it's one of the best action movies of any decade ever, combining a brilliant cast with more testosterone than the entire population of Long Island, explosive set pieces, cutting-edge special effects, and a talented director at the top of his game. A film that shifts gears effortlessly from gung-ho special ops war movie to gory slasher horror flick to brutal survival story, all in the span of less than 2 hours. Predator rightly sits amongst the upper echelons of action movie royalty, alongside other classics like Aliens and Terminator 2, and it spawned an entire franchise worth of sequels and spin-offs. Some good, some bad, and some meh. But what's interesting is that the movie actually came within a hair's breadth of being a complete disaster, as the beleaguered cast and crew wrestled with nightmarish shooting conditions, sickness, malfunction in special effects, violent and dangerous cast members, and conflicting creative visions. In short, it's perfect fodder for production hell. The idea for Predator actually began as a literal joke. After the release of Rocky IV back in 1985, Hollywood executives started quipping that since Rocky had beaten practically everything on Earth, his next opponent was going to have to be some kind of space alien. Aspiring writers Jim and John Thomas weren't laughing though. In fact, they thought it was a pretty good idea, and soon penned a screenplay about a group of alien hunters coming to Earth to hunt humans for sport. The script eventually caught the attention of Joel Silver, who liked the basic premise and commissioned it as a big budget action movie, with up and coming director John McTiernan attached to helm the project. And straight away, they knew who they wanted for the main role. Arnold Schwarzenegger by this point was basically king of the hill when it came to action stars, and Silver already had a good working relationship with him after doing Commando together. Arnold wasn't exactly convinced at first though. Quote, "The first thing I look for in a script is a good idea. A majority of scripts are rip-offs of other movies. People think they can become successful overnight. They sat down one weekend and wrote a script because they read that Stallone did that with Rocky. Predator was one of the scripts I read and it bothered me in a way. It was just me and the alien. So we redid the whole thing so that it was a team of commandos, and then I liked the idea." Nice one, Arnold. With the script hammered out and Arnold signed up, the rest of the cast quickly followed. Carl Weathers, Jesse Ventura, Bill Duke, and Sonny Landham all joined the production, which soon set up in the jungles of Mexico to begin shooting. And that is where the problems began. The first and most obvious one was the environment. The terrain they were shooting in was extremely rough and uneven, making it almost impossible to move people and equipment quickly from one place to another. It wasn't exactly fun for the actors either. As Arnold himself remarked, "We were always on a hill. We stood all day long on a hill, one leg down, one leg up. It was terrible." Daytime temperatures soared to well over 90 degrees and plummeted at nighttime, which wasn't great when the entire final act of the movie takes place at night, and Arnold himself was shirtless and covered in mud for most of it. He also couldn't warm himself up because the mud would dry out and flake off his body. The result was that he spent half of his time battling against hypothermia. He even resorted to high-proof alcohol at one point to try to ward off the chill, but all it really did was get him drunk. The rest of the cast weren't doing much better, especially when the water purification system at their hotel broke down and they all got stricken with traveller's diarrhea. The situation got so bad that Sonny Landham and Richard Chavez had to keep running to the bathroom between takes. Dehydration and heat exhaustion became major problems, and Arnold literally shit himself while out running one morning. The only guy on the whole production who managed to avoid it was McTiernan, who ate only canned food and drank bottled water throughout the whole shoot. Yeah, he might have ended up losing 25 pounds in weight, but he never got sick, so good on him, I guess. Another big headache was Sonny Landham, the actor playing the team's point man Billy, who apparently developed a bit of a temper once he got a drink in him, which was surprisingly often as it turned out, and after starting a few too many fights at local pubs and nightclubs, the production team ended up hiring a 24-hour security detail to watch over him. Not so much to keep him safe from other people, but to keep other people safe from him. Interestingly, Predator also marks a rare on-screen appearance for Shane Black, who was more of a screenwriter than an actor even back then. He'd eventually go on to become one of the highest paid writers in Hollywood before deciding it was a good idea to direct a new Predator movie in the style of an action comedy, and then promptly vanished into obscurity. In this case though, his main reason for being there was to keep an eye on McTiernan. This was the guy's first major directing gig, and the studio weren't entirely confident he'd be able to handle the pressure. But if things were tough for the actors, they were rapidly reaching crisis point for the special effects teams hired to bring the Predator to life. The original concept for the Predator imagined it as a fast, athletic and graceful alien, and for this reason they hired Jean-Claude Van Damme to do the motion capture work. Unfortunately, the creature suit designed by Boss Film Studios turned out to be heavy and cumbersome, preventing him from using his martial arts training. He also wasn't entirely happy about basically being an uncredited special effect when his own career was starting to take off. And let's be honest, the suit looks pretty fucking laughable when you see the test footage. A few weeks into production, and Van Damme had had enough and quit, plunging the movie into crisis mode. Not only had their actor walked away, but it was pretty clear that the original Predator design wasn't working, and audiences were more likely to laugh at it than be scared. Enter Stan Winston, who had handled the visual effects on Terminator, and immediately set to work redesigning the Predator suit. And in one of those happy little coincidences of life, he just so happened to be sitting next to James Cameron on the flight out from LA while sketching designs for the Predator's face. That's when Cameron suggested adding mandibles to its jaw to make it look even more alien, and thus a legend was born. With the revamped Predator ready, this time played by 7'2" former basketball player Kevin Peter Hall, production was able to restart and the finale could be filmed. The new design wasn't without its problems though, especially because Hall couldn't actually see through the Predator mask during his big fight scenes with Arnold, so he was forced to memorize every move before they shot each scene. This resulted in him missing a lot of punches and whacking Arnold right in the face more than a few times. Damn, Arnie really got put through the ringer with this movie. Production finally wrapped at the end of June 1986 after a grueling 3-month shoot. Cast and crew were battered and exhausted, but the movie was in the can, and when it released a year later, Predator would go on to make almost $100 million at the box office, and ultimately became one of the most beloved sci-fi action films ever made. And I think it's a real testament to the hard work, dedication and resourcefulness of everyone involved that they were able to rescue a faltering movie from the brink of disaster and ultimately produce something that's just as entertaining and watchable now as it was more than 30 years ago. It might have been hell to make, but it's heavenly to watch with a few beers. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.